What's a true fact about you that sounds like a lie? When I was becoming old enough to go to school, my parents received a letter from the government saying some person will visit us kids in kindergarten to see if we should stay one more year or if we were mature enough to go to school. They talked about it with my parents and they decided I wasn't. So I stayed one more year. Some miscommunication happened with some higher ups. Not sure of the details. An error occurred in the system where all citizens of this country are registered and someone erased me out of existence. And I wasn't even registered in the kindergarten's name list anymore because they thought I went to school. So now I wasn't registered with the government or with my local kindergarten. I still went to kindergarten, but the kindergarten teachers there never did office and paperwork. That was someone else's job. Probably some guy who sits in an office all day and never saw any of the kids at kindergarten anyway. The next year my parents didn't receive a letter and my parents didn't receive the yearly bill for me going to kindergarten. That's when my mom noticed something's up and asked about it. Shouldn't have asked. I was free, but now I'm back in the system. JK. It would have come out sooner or later. I'm close to retiring. I worked in the then emerging field of computers. Back then, it was a job you could get without a degree. It also allowed you to spend a lot of time away from people. At first I did labor for a construction company. I waited tables and did retail jobs, 2 at a time. Off the clock at 3 p.m. at 1. On the clock at 4 p.m. in the same mall. I started doing data entry, and I got around on a bicycle. I spent some nights sleeping rough, and many nights on floors and couches. I wouldn't say normal, but I'm better adjusted than I used to be. What constitutes normal life? I'm self-supporting. I'm in a long-term marriage with a person I really love. I've raised 2 children who are magnificent people. I own where I live. I have a pair of dogs. I think I'm kind of a novelty. An orphan with living parents. It's a hard lesson to learn early. Just because you're related to somebody doesn't mean they have any love or loyalty to you. Don't take anyone at the word when they value you. For either good or bad. You know who you are. You know your worth. Don't let anyone flatter or detract from that. Be true to yourself. You are all you've got. I was adopted as a baby via closed adoption. Closed adoption means there is no way for me to find out who my bio parents are and no way for them to find out who I am. I still ended up meeting my bio mom all because I bent over to pet a cat. I would like to the expanded version of this story, please. My adopted mom passed away when I was 17. My adoptive father got remarried. The woman he married had a daughter, my stepsister. Well, I was visiting my stepsister one day and bent over to pet her cat. Her best friend who was sitting at the kitchen table shouted out, "I think I know your sister." I said, "Well done," and pointed to my stepsister. She goes, "No, your biological sister. The way you just bent over to pet the cat is exactly how she does it." My stepsister's best friend ended up calling the person who she thought was my biological sister. Turns out that she was not my bio sister but was in fact my bio mother who happened to be married to my stepsister's best friend's husband's relation, and that is how my stepsister's best friend knew her. To say it was a shock to everyone is an understatement because my bio mom does not even live in the same state. My earliest babysitters were a bank robber and a second-degree murderer, and for a time while I was a baby I was the target of a cult that wanted to kill me to get revenge on my father who had locked up their lunatic cop-killing messiah. The 2 anecdotes are semi-unrelated. When I was a kid I was kidnapped by a neighbor and locked in a wardrobe. The kidnapper was a mother to a kid in my class at school, and she said she didn't want him and she was going to keep me instead. Neighbors saw her grab me and called the police. She's now in prison after stabbing and killing a police officer through the heart with a kitchen knife. Most of mine are betrayed by my username. Used to perform as a contortionist. I juggled competitively. Currently perform with fire, and despite being almost 80 pounds overweight I can still fit myself through an unlaced tennis racket. I'm currently working on a technique to directly transition from juggling axes and knives to throwing them for better flow in my routines. Non-circus stuff. I played the trumpet in Carnegie Hall while I was still a preteen. I once literally tripped onto Robin Williams. And I once let a couple police officers believe I was deaf while they griped about their wives. Only to reveal that I could hear them the entire time. I rode an elephant once. I used to hang out with a gang of Dominican Bloods despite that I'm a nerdy white boy. I just liked weed and one of them was my dealer who became my smoke buddy. Pretty sure they all dead or in jail now. And not me, but my brother was approached by the FBI when he was 16 because he hacked the school's computer system. He later joined the army and then worked with the CIA and NSA, and now he's out of the military but still doing something with them. I was constantly ill from birth to age 16. And while now less frequent and still ill quite often, all my life I always complained that I was too tired, felt bad, couldn't breathe well, etc. My parents always thought that I was just trying to get out of school. Eventually their thought moved to depression. But then when I entered high school I started to have debilitating headaches. Several a day. Finally they had me get checked out. After ruling out cancers and such, I get a CT on my sinuses, which is where I described the pain coming from all along. Doc saw the scans and said that I had had continuous sinus infections since birth, and since nothing was ever done about them, my sinuses were so clogged with scar tissue that they didn't work anymore, and anytime my allergies flared up, my sinuses would try to inflame but had nowhere to go. Surgery to have my sinus cavities forcibly evacuated was scheduled over a 4-day weekend so I wouldn't miss school. Felt loads better after the surgery, but will always continue to get sinus infections, but less frequently since I now use those sinus rinses daily. But I can breathe through my nose regularly now. TLDR, was always sick as a kid, but no one believed me. Doctor said I had continuous sinus infections since birth. Shoved a vacuum up my nose, and now I can breathe. Apparently, according to people I don't agree with, as a 33-year-old woman, I am quite attractive. You have no idea how many goosebumps I have just typing that out. I swear to you I don't see it. I was ugly as hell growing up, so you get the idea. I've never been in a relationship and I am still a virgin. I've made out, been on dates and gone to third base a few times, but that's it. My first experience was in college. From 21-31 no man touched me romantically or sexually. Last year, aged 32, I went out with a guy briefly and that's it. People seem to think that I have a long line of men chasing me. People are shocked that I am single. They think I can pull guys at women, that I spend more time turning down guys than I do go out with them. But there are no guys. That's the thing. No one is ever interested in me. I have zero idea why this perception of me exists, and I also wonder why no guy is interested in me. So, yeah. 33 years old virgin. That's my sounds like a lie true fact. So I was living in Tokyo back then. One day, while walking my dog, he got startled and ran onto the road. Mind you, there was practically no traffic. But there was one motorcycle that had to stop. Now it didn't look like much of a deal to me because they hadn't been going fast. But the guy who was sitting in front immediately screamed at me, claiming that his woman, who was sitting behind him, had hit her chin against his helmet. The whole thing incidentally happened directly in front of a small police station, so at that point 2 very non-excited policemen came out to see what's up. They explained to the couple that they can't sue me legally and that we should sort it out between ourselves. Couple left angrily telling me that I'll hear from them. I believe either the police gave them my address or someone followed me. But they found out where I was living and started sending threats, asking for huge sums of money, claiming that the woman, who works as a hostess, wouldn't be able to work due to the injury and that I should pay the bills and her paycheck for the next 6 months. My ex-husband explained to me that they're your accuser and that that's why the police was reluctant to get involved. Also that they don't really care about a foreign woman and probably think I'm easy prey. It went on for weeks and they even sent guys to patrol in front of my apartment with baseball bats. No kidding. They gave up eventually, likely when they realized that my husband is well connected and I wasn't as easy a prey as they thought I was. But I barely left the house during that time and definitely lost my trust in the Japanese police. My great-grandfather served on the wrong side during World War II in Germany. He wasn't a Nazi per se, but he did run a Polish POW camp. My grandmother was a little girl at the time and she befriended a lot of the soldiers there. After the war, during the winter time, he was called in to shovel snow off the train tracks because his coworker was drunk. He was struck and killed by a train. I have a great time playing two truths and a lie. I have a paranoid schizophrenic mother and she tried to kill my older sister several times. Tried to commit suicide a couple of times and after my birth. She took me, tried to run away. My father's friends found her and they called my father. She refuses medication and doesn't want to see a doctor. She won't come out of the house. She's still with us. At the age of 18 I was approved for a $50K business loan with no credit history apart from owning a credit card for 2 months. I was also working at Hungry Jack's Burger King when I was approved for this loan. Now I'm $35K in debt and have debt collectors chasing me and trying to sue me. And only 3 people know about this. Everyone else thinks that I have a normal credit rating. Yes, I know this is all my fault and I have accepted the consequences. I just haven't faced them yet. My mother used to be close friends with John Bon Jovi. Not sure what happened to separate them, but they used to be good friends when she was younger. Also, my family is a reptile rescue and we currently have a 4-foot alligator, a tarantula, 3 snakes, God knows how many bearded dragons, axolotls, Mexican salamanders, and a fire skink inhabiting our home. In terrariums, of course.